or with simple documents, and they can be included. So tiered KYC is very important for inclusion.
Right, in just under 5 minutes, we will be wrapping it up. Again, if you do have a question, you can always just raise your hand. We will find our way to you, and be sure to pass on the question to our panelists. I think 5 minutes, just under 1 minute, each one of you could just share some parting shots of utter wisdom. That I have my pen here, I'll be taking notes. Yeah, I think let me start here to my left.
So I'll write on the back of your last question that you raised to the panel. And for me, yes, ultimately it is instantaneous payments that count, because more than anything, that is the true desire for an individual, for a corporate treasurer, I mean, in a large company. But one thing that we also need to factor in is, you see, most times when there's something new, there's always that rebate of a threat towards it. And the way that can be curbed with the interoperability that we will try and achieve is to ensure that the level of cyber security for the services that we're offering to these clients is paramount. We have seen it in a couple of the financial institutions, in the fintechs and the telcos. But ultimately, the one thing that will drive financial inclusion, enable everyone to participate once we have instant payments running, is the establishment of trust. And for me, I believe that comes with the paramount cybersecurity around the services that we'll offer. Thank you.
Thank you for that. John, very briefly.
Yeah, I would just want to share what there is a framework that can help our stakeholders understand where we can collaborate and where we can compete in what we call real-time payment systems. So this framework has what they call the rails. The rails in this case is the infrastructure. The infrastructure can be the switching platforms, it can be the fraud platforms. Then it has the element of what they call the rules. When the different players, banks, DFSPs come together, they discuss what are the common rules that we can agree to serve our people. So we can always collaborate on what they call the rails and the rules. Then we can be left to compete on what they call the accounts and applications. Once you have the shared infrastructure, you can build intelligent applications of that. So FinTech A can differentiate itself from FinTech B based on their value offering in applications and accounts. That's something that we need as stakeholders in the financial inclusion industry to be aware of, that collaboration and competition can coexist. Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. So for us to achieve total inclusion, it's going to take continuously improving in all of the sectors that we are playing in. Fintechs are playing a very vital role. The banks are still very relevant. The regulators are still doing a very good job. So how to bring all of this together? How to cause for a common platform that will allow at the end of the day to extend to our end users, our businesses, our public sector, our private sector, the simplicity that we are looking for in our market, the reliability to offer the services, and also a secure platform. I think that is what we need to think about.
Doreen?
Ultimately, I think that businesses play a big role in promoting financial inclusion because they are dealing with more than one person. They are dealing with multiple, whether it's employees, whether it is beneficiaries, whether it is a border rider. So as aggregators, the onus is on us to make those processes as simple and as agile as possible. And I think that collaborating through interoperability creates a platform for these businesses to reach even more people and ultimately include them. How that is done, whether it is through USSD, which is for people who use a feature phone, whether it is through a voucher, whether it is through an app, whether it is through a debit card, it doesn't matter. Our ultimate goal is to include everybody, not leave anybody behind, and make borders matter less.
Thank you.
So I think it's really two things. We need digital payments, and then we need interoperable digital payments. And at the heart of this thing, one of the questions you asked that I want to lean in a bit on is we truly, truly need all the players working together, including government. Because if the private sector is making all these moves and then a bill comes up and that bill is changing everything, then the work the private sector is doing is to no effect. As opposed to, for example, you see in Tanzania, the Tanzania Instant Payment System, where the government is working with is advancing something, and of course, something is going to happen much faster. So this issue is actually very urgent, and we need everyone involved. So yes, I thank the organizers of things like this, because this is making the voice heard and is making more players get involved in the collaboration and the competition. As John Mark pointed out, they can actually coexist for us to address this issue that is very, very urgent. I'll just ask, imagine if you had to go through COVID and you couldn't make many of the payments you're making now digitally, you couldn't make them digitally. If you couldn't pay for your bill, if you had to pay with cash for your umeme bill. Those advancements, that infrastructure is what we are talking about. We are saying we need that infrastructure urgently for the small merchant at the end of the day, for the players in the far parts of the country and of the continent, for this ecosystem to benefit everyone across the board.
Thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to thank my panel today. Peter Kakoma, who is the CEO of Kanzuko, John Mark Sabunya, who is with MTN and also a Fintech platforms architect, Doreen Lukandwa with Bionic, she's a director of marketing and customer success, Paul Tamalit with Stanbic Bank, not forgetting Nathan Levi, who is with Standard Chartered implementation manager. Lady and the gentleman, many thanks for making time to share your utter wisdom with us. I did ask for a question, but unfortunately, I think John Mark, you scared them off with the rails and the could have sworn we're talking infrastructure. Thank you for that. Please make your way to the gallery. Nicholas will be taking some photographs in just a few. Nicholas, thank you again.
Rightly put at conclusion, I know Ronald from Pegasus, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been here since time immemorial. Same applies to you guys. So they have been trying to make sure there is an ecosystem that serves and benefits everyone. This year's Digital and Financial Inclusion Summit, Digital Impact Awards Africa, is presented by High People in partnership with Modasbo, Level 1 Project, Modular Foundation, and most importantly, UNCDF, United Nations Capital Development Fund. UNCDF is doing a lot of work in matters of financial inclusion. If you have heard, during the COVID times, there was something that was about delivery of medicine or delivery of contraceptives using orders. It is such partners that make those things happen. And even more interesting is the fact that this event runs under a project called Include Everyone. But again, UNCDF's new digital strategy is leaving no one behind in the digital era. Different words mean the same thing. Because when you don't leave anyone behind, you are essentially everyone. We close very many words.
Hello, welcome to the Digital Impact Awards Africa. My name is Abigail K. Gabi. Hello everyone, my name is Abigail K. Gabi, reporting live at Mistel Hotel for the Digital Impact Awards Africa. Welcome to the 7th edition. This includes everyone. If you're home watching the Digital Impact Awards Africa, make sure that you leave your comments, you leave your questions on our Facebook page, Hi People. And if you were home and you don't have a TV, you can catch this live on NTV. You can catch this on YouTube as well, Kasuku Live and Big Eye Live. Don't also forget to keep the hashtag DIAA2020 includes everyone. Also, don't forget to catch us on Twitter and all our Facebook pages. If it's your first time to watch the Digital Impact Awards Africa, you can as well go to our Facebook page, type "Hi People," we are live, and you can catch all the discussions that has been going on. We are featuring the biggest African digital people and all the big companies that are using the digital marketing. Also, if you don't know what digital marketing is, you can tell from what has happened in the coronavirus. We have all gotten involved in the digital market. We have all gotten involved in the digital world because this was a time where we all had to go to our phones and start looking for what to eat, where to go. That is all the digital that we are talking about today. And today we shall be awarding those companies that are actually making a difference in the digital world. We shall be celebrating the transformation of digital here at Mistel Hotel. We are live and we are still going on. If you've just tuned into NTV, make sure you don't touch that remote because there are still so many discussions going on. There is still so many things to talk about, so make sure you tune in and don't miss out on anything. If you have any questions, go to our Facebook page, Hi People on Facebook, and if you are watching live as well on NTV, you can go to the NTV page and drop in your questions about anything digital. It shall be answered right away. Thank you so much. Don't miss out on whatever that is going to happen next. See you. I'm still Abigail Kegabi. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Hi People. Also, don't forget to keep the hashtag DIAA2020. Hashtag includes everyone. Thank you so much.
That are sometimes the only source of credit to some of
See and cancel the patient calls you. I want you to give me
the patients actually call you.
Yes.
Okay.
And I want you to give me the advice. Or else you can send somebody to us.
Yeah.
You go and tell this person like this, like this.
And so these are the challenges that some of these village health teams are facing as they try to address the challenges of health access within these communities. And so we are asking ourselves, can technology play a role? Can digital service offerings actually alleviate some of the challenges we're seeing here so that we ensure that nobody is left behind in this digital era?
At the district level, the health sector has been relying on manual records to store patients and hospital information.
The sick people here come with their own exercise books. So clinicians record this information in them, including laboratory results. When they're discharged, they go with this information. So we don't have track of what has been done to this client. So next time they come, or if they lose this book at home, for example, then we cannot track what was done before. With digitalization, then we'll be able to maintain a record, and by a click of a mouse, probably we can be able to retrieve a patient's records, and that can help to ease decision making.
When health workers have access to digital solutions, they are better equipped to track patients' progress and monitor response to treatment.
ICT would, this is even delayed. It should have come to us much earlier, because with ICT, definitely the information would reach us in time. We would even get feedbacks from the rural centers to Lira Medical Center very easily.
Beyond connecting people, digital technologies are about transforming lives. With its partners, UNCDF aims to build inclusive digital economies that leave no one behind in the digital era.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that, those findings. And my name is Rita Caballero for anyone watching us. And ladies and gentlemen, let me now invite Chris Lucolio, the Digital Country Lead, UNCDF, and like Nicola said earlier, is the United Nations Capital Development Fund. And this morning, we're delighted to be very brief on this session so that we can move forward. Yes, thank you so much. And now we want us to take it from building rails to achieve full digital inclusion in Africa. That is what we are focusing on this morning. And let's kickstart it from digitizing me. And when I say me, it goes for everyone in this room and for everyone watching. So if you could talk about the identity, because several countries in Africa have tried to address identity with mixed levels of success. So what is required for several creative digital identity for all Africans to create that?
Thank you so much. This is a great question. And you're right that several countries have tried with mixed success. But I should say that I think what's most important to achieve digital identity is really, the political will, right? And I think we've seen here with this major push to have a national ID, now I understand that your national ID is what you need to get a SIM card, is what you need to get a passport. There are limitations, but my point is that there is political will, that there is the push to have the right regulatory and policy environment to make it happen, okay? And this is the key foundation. Okay. And so having that in place is the first step. Secondly, of course, and this has been discussed extensively here today, the right infrastructure. The digital ID actually means that I wouldn't have to take my ID out of my, if there's a means by which that can be digitized. So maybe I offer a number, a QR code, something that can be scanned and can be verified. Okay. Yes.
Thank you so much. And let's talk about the devices, because in the most mobile-first Africa, we see the cost of device is still a sensitive issue. So how can Africans cost-effectively produce and distribute mobile devices?
Another great question. I think that if we look at the populations that are in danger of being left behind, mostly it's rural communities, refugees, migrants, and what have you. And at UNCDF, we've piloted something called the Digital Community Entrepreneur. This is where we're leveraging people within the community to reach out to the doorstep, the last mile, to help with the distribution of digital-related products and services. Other companies, MTN has done something similar, Airtel is doing something similar. In other words, taking the steps to extend access to the last mile, because only then can you enable people to use digital products and services. Okay. I should also mention that there is, I believe, now local production of phones that's been started here. That's another step in the right direction, and I know other countries have done this to reduce the cost. The idea being that you enable more people to access these devices. and be more digitally included.
Yes, thank you so much. And we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about technology, we're talking about digitalization, mobile phones, and all this needs internet access. And with the evolution and reach of content for e-commerce, financial services need to access great internet. But this is still very expensive. How can we make sure that internet is made public or commodity, a public commodity?
Well, that's always a difficult one. Indeed, internet access is still very expensive, especially here. I think that a lot of the work that we see being done, again, through the fintech community, where you show viable business models that allow a company to extend its services to underserved communities and still gain value, because businesses are in the business of making money. But when it's shown that there are valuable, viable business models that can extend services to these communities, it starts to make business sense to reduce those costs. And so part of UNCDF's strategy in making sure that no Ugandan is left behind in the digital era is really to foster what we call inclusive innovation. The idea being that if you can innovate with underserved communities in mind, innovate with them and for them, you can show those viable business models that will attract more of the service providers, the MTNs of this world, other service providers, to get down there and reduce these costs because there's money to be made.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. Now, talk to us about digitizing my money. And just like I said, when I say my, it goes for every one of us and everyone watching us. How do we effectively build digital financial services that are inclusive for the poor in 3 levels? That is a store of value, payment instrument, and payment channel.
Thanks. So I've talked about this quite a bit, about how, the service that one might build for, an audience or target community here won't be the same as you build for, a rural farmer in Arua, okay? And so I think that in order to achieve that, really, to deliver value as you describe, it's really that these solutions need to be designed within the communities. I know we work with several organizations in the innovation ecosystem in Uganda, and somebody has a very cool application. It's working well, but it's designed in a lab in Kampala. Embedding yourself within the refugee community in Chiandongo, taking people through your application. What do I press? What do I do next? In what language is it? These are the things that enable somebody to find value in your application and indeed to save using that application to be able to pay with it.
So that means that it should be designed within the community and for that particular community.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. How about digitalizing my services? Because government services like health, education, and agriculture can effectively deliver or be delivered with digitalization. So how can or what interventions should be made, especially in the agriculture sector?
Yeah. I think that, again, we go back to policy and the policy and regulatory environment. I think, again, here we have quite an impressive push for e-government services. So when you're trying to get your passport, now you use an online platform. When you're trying to get your ID, there's a place you apply. I think first is the regulatory and policy environment to make sure that you digitize those services. But secondly, again, I think the danger is for those communities that will be left behind.
Okay.
So as you digitize services, coupled with that, you have to look at things like improving on digital literacy. Because again, if somebody doesn't know how to use the device, how to access the service, they won't be able to access it even if it's readily available through these platforms.
Okay.
So those
Thank
are
you
some
so
things
much.
that should
Thank
be
you
done.
so much. And ladies and gentlemen, and everyone watching us on NTV, we are coming to an end of this panel. But before that, we have got something that every nation needs for every individual and for every community, that is privacy and security. So we're going to discuss on how digital, because digital is the new gold that's attracting security, attracting privacy, bridges. So what should we put in place to ensure that digital rails like identity, applications, and financial services are secure?
Yeah, no, that's a longer answer than we have time for. But no, because there have been challenges. Yes. I mean, we've all sort of seen in the news recently, and this is across the globe. Security and cybersecurity are big concerns. I think that again, building awareness within the communities is a big deal. That people need to know what information is being collected and why it's being collected. And then I think again, I know that government has in place policy around cybersecurity and indeed the mandate for service providers to protect that data. I also think that the right partnerships need to be built because when it comes to security and privacy, the threats are changing every day. You know, what you think you're protected against today, a new hack will come up tomorrow. Happen. Exactly. So the right partnerships, the right policies in place, but also engaging the community and educating them about the risks.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This marks the end of panel discussion.
Thank you so much.
He is Chris Lukolio. He is the country lead at the UNCDF, and I'm Rita Caballero. For now, I invite my co-MC, Wesley, to come and take us through the rest of the program. And please join me for a photo.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
We had locusts. Then we didn't have the locusts. But on the brighter side, at least on the Fin space, it was a good year because the Parliament of Uganda passed on the 29th of May 2020 the National Payments Act. Now, legislation is key for anything to move forward, let alone the right legislation. Allow me to introduce my next panel as we do try to unpack this particular legislation, the act, which is now a law. Back again, Doreen Lukandwa with Bionic. FITSPA, that's the Financial Technology Association, the company secretary, Brian Kalule, who is also working with Bowmans. Then we also have Marlin Group CEO, Malcolm Castillo, and last but not least, Agre Mugisha, Your TV Channel's CEO. Today I'm also getting a seat. Thank you. Yes, it's now a law. If in one sentence, all of you could try and describe it. My apologies. The dancing session is coming up just after lunch. If all of you could kind of describe this particular legislation in one sentence to someone who has never attended law school, how would you sum it up? Let me start with you, sir. Morning to you. Yes, we can hear you, please.
Good morning. So I'm a lawyer, so this should be easy for me. The National Payment Systems Act seeks to regulate payment systems operators, and issuers of electronic money, who most people know as mobile money. So basically, it just brings all those people under regulation and under the supervision of the central bank, which is Bank of Uganda.
Thank you. One sentence.
It's pretty much a set of guidelines to govern how payments outside the standard bank framework are managed.
question, one word, entry.
Entry. That's okay. Okay, please.
Personally, I would say it's pretty much a brilliant set of regulations that was long overdue to help us move money electronically, and it's brilliant.
The running joke across the region has always been the fact that Uganda has arguably the best set of laws, that we do fail, but we do fail miserably at implementing them. What's to save us from ourselves when it comes to this particular legislation? Please. The running joke has always been across the region that Uganda has arguably the best set of laws, but when it comes to implementation, we just cut the branch that we sit on half the time. What's to save us from ourselves with this particular Payments Act, which is now law?
I think for me, the key thing is that the central bank is very interested in implementing this regulation. It has involved all the stakeholders, almost all of them, into drafting, negotiating, and concluding this piece of legislation, and they are very keen on it. So I suspect in the same way they are keen on financial institutions, they will be keen on it. They will also be keen on the payment system service providers. So I foresee that it will be a smooth implementation as opposed to most other laws because of the keen interest of the central bank.
Supervision, definitely a big problem. Doreen, maybe you could touch on that particular question very, very briefly. Then we'll move on to the interesting aspect of someone an aspect, I think you will guide me on which particular part of the legislation this is, but there's a part that allows for a fintech company to, for lack of a better word, test their particular platform without getting a license. You could touch on these two aspects.
Yeah, so ideally the regulation is meant to bring structure to any sort of form of space or industry. So this particular one accommodates innovation because we are a very entrepreneurial market. This type of legislation allows for people to come in with brilliant ideas, try them out, and ready for the market. The beauty about this is that these guidelines are meant to help protect the people who are supposed to use these innovations. So to ensure that before this product goes to market, it's actually safe, it's usable, and it meets the respective guidelines.
Right. The role of the regulator in this particular one is quite interesting. It's kind of far-reaching from the supervision to trying to understand how the transactions are going through. Give me a sense of where you feel this leaves the other stakeholders in the market. Are they really appealed to here?
Well, my take on this is that it's creating a barrier to entry, because especially when you look at the application, the structure of the fees, the application fees, you're looking at 10% of your total income, then I think there's 5%, then a minimal capital requirement of about from 2 billion to about 10 billion. So at the end of the day, it's like they are favoring the old guards, for lack of a better word. So where is the fair competitiveness in this? It doesn't make sense at all.
Favoring the old guard. Then my question would be, were all the stakeholders consulted in this particular conversation before? No?
I don't think so.
Okay, clearly you were not called. Please, what do you make of this particular submission? The fact that he suggests that this just favors the old guard and just creates a barrier to entry for the wananchi.
I choose to look at it from two perspectives. Okay. Yes, on one part, he's right, okay, creates a barrier entry for the new entrants in the market, but at the same time, then we are talking about finances, we're talking about money, we're talking about money moving electronically, and that is something that must be regulated. You must minimize risk in that, and if this helps us do that, then I would say it's good to look at it from that perspective. It helps from that perspective, but at the same time, then it puts up a barrier to entry in the market. Yes.
As the resident lawyer in the room, I think you could touch on the issue of barrier to entry into the market. If we're looking at millions of Uganda shillings as a starting point, before you can indulge in a space that was previously free entry, doesn't the legislation actually undo whatever good it's trying to promote in the first place?
Actually, the biggest barrier to entry, supposed barrier to entry under this legislation is and my panelists will confirm, is there's what they call the minimum paid up share capital. The regulation, there's a draft regulations under this act that says that if you're going to issue electronic money, you should have at least a minimum paid up share capital of 10 billion shillings. And then the next stage is, I think, the next category should have 5 billion, and then the one after that should have 3 billion. So now on any view, this is a very, very huge sum. Most of the stakeholders have argued and pushed back on that, and they're saying that this is a prohibitive sum of money. The good thing, the regulator has been willing to listen, and they have taken note of that, and actually, as I speak, they are currently in a session to discuss some of these things, and they have shown that they are willing to revise that figure and to accommodate the innovators who may not be that financially endowed. So in a way, it's not entirely, if that figure is revised to manageable limits, I don't think it's entirely creating barriers to entry. But on the other hand, we have to understand that payments really pose systemic risk. I think as of 2019, half of Uganda's GDP, half of the transaction, most of the mobile money transactions, actually the entire sum of the mobile money transactions constituted half of Uganda's GDP. So that poses a systemic risk, and there is need to have that regulated. So it would mean that if people, it's only serious people who should be considered to partake in this.
I have a problem when you say serious people, because since when is seriousness measured by how fat your wallet is? And let alone who then gets to decide what fat looks like for a wallet? If that was the case, then you wouldn't have an Elon Musk, you wouldn't have a Bill Gates, you wouldn't have Steve Jobs or Tim Cook, because all these guys, once upon a time, their wallet was thinner than yours and mine. So who then gets to decide if some of my panelists here were not consulted and the legislation is now law? Who gets to decide?
Can you take that?
Okay.
I think one of the methods to coming up with some of these frameworks is adopting best practices from other markets that have done something similar, and ultimately that's kind of how many of these structures are built. I think that the regulator taking time to understand the sector locally, understand how we have built these businesses, the kind of investment put in, is something that needs to happen more frequently, more regularly, and be taken a lot more seriously. I do think that there are very many ways to manage risk. It doesn't necessarily have to be through a hefty capital investment or a hefty fine at the point of entry, but you could penalize for a certain set of breaches, if you will. So I think that there are very many ways to look at this, but I think that ultimately through organizations like FITSPA, through the UNCDF and FSDU that are helping to lobby for a lot of these changes, change will come, but as fintechs, we need to come together. As business owners, we need to come together and make the case for the regulator to understand the kind of businesses that we are running.
Malcolm, let me bring you back in and play devil's advocate. What the regulator and whoever actually passed the law, maybe what they are looking at is maybe based, I don't know if you're familiar with the Basel I, Basel II in international finance. where you create tiers of finance, and in that way you keep on stress testing the banks. It could be Wells Fargo, could be Goldman Sachs, could be JP Morgan, and they keep on stress testing them, maybe on a periodic manner. And because there are tiers to how much capital they are holding at any particular point, they can get to see whether or not the bank in question is stressed or not. Is this, with this particular reasoning, one could argue that maybe the same logic was deployed in this particular legislation. On that particular backdrop, wouldn't that then make sense and not be an impediment to entry?
Yes, definitely it does make sense, because I think there are three categories of the license. So when you go to the service provision, there is a standard one. It has 2 tiers. There is, I think, for the, I would say, guys who are doing high transaction, and the guy out of campus, or me and you, who wants to start a business, because they do not define what the minimal capital is. But then again, usually the devil is in the details. Then what is it? Again, who gets to decide? How do they come up with that? So there's a lot of gray also. So I've come up with that idea. I want to see how to, commercialize it, but I am not sure if I'll qualify for a license. And if I don't have it, I cannot operate. So chicken and egg again scenario. So what happens after that?
I think he has an answer to that.
Yeah. When you read through this act, and I think it would be as important as it may sound, and as it may be, when you read through this act, it's a bit unfair, okay? When you look at it from I think section 66, subsection 1, the minimum capital requirements, because it's holistic. It brings a whole lot more to the table, okay? Talk about the act being consumer-centric, which is absolutely key to this, okay? Let's talk about the which we haven't had, okay? We haven't had that, and it comes in and it regulates and the consumer is protected. Very, very important, okay? Before even anyone acquires any license, okay? Before we talk about the license. Then talk about the 12 months transitional provision for the existing license holders, okay? Which for me, I believe that's absolutely reasonable, that you give these guys 12 months, let them go through that process of 12 months, acquire the licenses. And then, of course, I looked at it and I saw the 6 months grace period, I think they give to the new entrants in the market to try out, okay, whatever they intend to do. And in 6 months, if it makes sense, if they feel they are up for it and they can do it, then they can go ahead and apply for the license and be able to get it. And so I believe it brings a lot more to the table than the impediment to market entry that we're talking about.
Brian, let me bring you back in. I'm beginning to worry. You could shed some more light on this. Apparently a key provision in the Act is a requirement for the payment service provider, a financial institution of microfinance to deposit taking institution other than the entity solely established to issue electronic money that intends to issue electronic money in order to incorporate the legal subsidiary entry. I get the sense that this legislation might overlap with the legislation in place to try and watch or supervise the mobile money as it is. Could you just speak to this, mobile money versus the Payments Act?
So actually, that provision is intended to cure that possible overlap.
Right.
Once the payments law came into force, then the mobile money guidelines ceased to apply. So now you'll realize that mobile money is predominantly provided by the telcos, the MNOs, who are regulated by the UCC. So that provision entails them to opening up a separate subsidiary whose regulator will be the central bank. So it avoids that possible overlap.
UCC, the central bank, who takes precedence then?
No, there will be separate entities. One will be, the telcos will remain regulated by UCC. Then the new entity they create will be regulated by the central bank. So in theory, they are different entities. So though in practice we know the lines tend to get blurred, but they should be separate entities. And that overlap is what was intended to be cured.
Doreen, just speak to us about the ACT framework as it stands right now. What stands out for you?
I think ultimately just the opportunity for collaboration between the different countries. In essence, to demystify what that means is that it's going to become one marketplace. It means that everybody would be able to transact and export and import from the same marketplace with different countries. I think this kind of regulation will limit that to an extent. So I think that there's going to be a need for a lot more conversations between the respective countries before this can become fully operational as one marketplace.
Malcolm, 6 months is what you're giving us the window before you can actually apply for a license. You're in the thick of things of developing fintechs and all these fancy software and platforms, should I say. Is 6 months really enough?
No, 6 months is not feasible or realistic, because when you look at most startups, they have a runway of about 18 months. That's 1.5 years. So that is more realistic. In any case, part of the requirements for you to apply, you need 2-year audited books. Where am I going to cook the difference? So these are, again, the small gray areas. Then, of course, the other issue that's not touched because of the application fees, and they are different. You have the application fee, the license fee, the annual fee, and then you have taxes to consider. So all this is just wailing on a startup after 6 months. So it just doesn't make sense.
I agree. 6 months.
I would say it should have been 12 months. When you run a startup, you realize that even 12 months, they actually disappear before you know it. And so I think it should have been 12. I'm grateful for 6 though, but should have been 12.
Doreen.
I think one of the important things to consider with this bill is that it would have been important to segment the different, or to cluster the different businesses that are being regulated. How old the startup is, what specific customer are they targeting, is it B2C or B2B? I think all of those different parameters and categorizations should have been taken into consideration, but I still hope that there is opportunity for that conversation.
Brian, let me bring you back in. There's 2 words here that stand out. One is permissible and the other is prohibited transactions. I'm sure you've had a chance to go through the legislation. What do you make of these 2, permissible and prohibited transactions? And doesn't that then create for a very gray area as it stands? Brian.
Actually, when you look at it keenly, it's not any different from what is currently happening. That is what they prohibit, though it's not stated in the law. But so this legislation just codifies that. For instance, they prohibit you issuing airtime, an electronic money issuer issuing electronic money in form of airtime. So that's not allowed even now. So it doesn't really bring anything new that the operators don't know.
Right, we're just about to wrap it up. Maybe in just a few, I could hear your parting remarks. Agri, let me start with you.
Yeah, I love the spirit of the act. I think it comes with a brilliant spirit. Okay, it has its shortfalls that we can talk about, and of course we know the law can always be amended, as we move on and as we see how it applies with stakeholders and stuff like this. But the spirit of the law is good, and I think it was long overdue, and I am glad that it's here, and we can regulate and protect consumers and have people operate with licenses. It's brilliant.
Malcolm.
Well, I'm not against regulation, I'm pro-regulation. But I mean, for the act to make sense, one, it needs to, again, iron out the gray areas, and then there should be a section, again, for the startups, for the different level you're at least there should be some kind of customization to that, because at the end of the day, if this space is to mature, we need more ideas coming in and less ideas going out. But the way it's currently built, you're going to have the guys already there, and no one coming in.
Right.
I definitely agree. Regulation, well, this particular one has come with a lot of positives, credibility, control, sort of making the ground level for all players in the market in this particular space. But I think it's going to be very important for the regulator to engage the players within this space on a regular basis, not just once a year, but monthly, and ensuring that this regulation is actually suited for Uganda, for this market, its players, but also its shops, the challenges that, that these businesses are facing in being able to extend solutions that are solving problems locally.
Right.
Okay, so when you talk to most of the fintechs and other players in the digital space, they are always complaining that these international big tech companies provide services in Uganda without actually paying any tax, without, you know, they are out there, but because of technology, they manage to provide services in Uganda. Now this regulation changes that. It provides that it would require anybody who provides payment services in Uganda, whether they're here or not, they would be required to come and get that kind of license. And that, in a way, helps the small fintechs. So the MasterCards, the Visas will also be required to come here and set up and obtain the license. So for me, that's a good thing.
Interesting when you say that. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to thank my panel of experts, Bionic Director, Marketing and Customer Services, Doreen Lukandwa. Right next to me, Brian Kalule, who is a lawyer at Bowman's and also a FitSpa. To my extreme, at the end of the stage, we do have your TV channel's CEO, Agra Mugisha. And right next to Doreen is Malcolm Castillo, who is Marlin Group CEO. Lady and the gentlemen, thank you again for making time to speak to us. As always, we do love to hear your expert opinions. And right this way, please. And you go for a small photograph. Thank you.
Technology Providers Association, those that are members of FitSpa. You know very well there's been a very interesting debate in the group, in the WhatsApp group of the association, with people giving different views. So it was nice that we had Brian Kaule, who is the company secretary of FitSpa, who are leading our lobbying with the regulators. We hope and believe that the regulators will listen to the voice of reason and make sure that the good regulation they are bringing doesn't kill the industry. It instead empowers the industry. We are very much aware that the guys that started this Yo Uganda, I'll mention again, Pegasus, are making sure that what they started doesn't die next year. We have had 20 years of financial technology. A regulation that is good shouldn't spoil the industry. Instead, it should be open for everyone to practice and be actively involved in ensuring that we are safe, happy, and productive. Having said all that, I would wish to remind you that the Include Everyone Summit, Digital and Financial Inclusion Summit, and Digital Impact Awards Africa are live on NTV. NTV, the analog TV, NTV, the digital TV, NTV social media channels, YouTube, Facebook, they are running live. They're also running live across different social media pages and accounts. If you're at home, you have any question, you have any comment, remember to send it. The hashtags you are running with are DR2020, that is hashtag DIAA2020, hashtag Level 1 Project, and hashtag Include Everyone. Again, for avoidance of doubt, this project is organized by High People in partnership with Level 1 Project, Modus Box, Modular Foundation, and UNCDF. I will repeat: UNCDF, United Nations Capital Development Fund, UNCDF. Allow me take this opportunity to invite King of Radio, Wesley, to take us through the next program. All I can say is the panels are over. We are going to have speeches and awards finally. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nicholas, as well. Thank you. All right, okay. We're trying to make sure that we are still in our time frame, and we will really have, like, at most, there should definitely be an hour. We should be done completely. And next, I definitely want to invite the CEO. Hi, people. And of course, that's none other than that's the mayor aspirant for Kampala. And of course, that's Nicholas, rather innocent Kawoya. Oyoye mayor of is coming in, and of course, his theme is to digitize Kampala. Part of his manifesto is to make sure that Kampala is digitized in all angles, as in all angles, to a level of also dust bin collection as well. So it should be digitized as well. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, our incoming mayor of Kampala.
Thank you, the newly wedded King of Radio. We're excited. The panelists, we're very excited to have you today, and we're thankful you made time. I'm also very happy that right after me, Damali Sali will be running her second keynote speech, and enabled by high people, powered by high people, sponsored by God. I'm also excited that we have more than 40 fintechs participating in this event today. We are fintechs, and we are passionate to have our own. It's 7 years of the Digital Impact Awards Africa, and we can't stop going. The partners, UNCDF, Moja Loop Foundation, Modus Books, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation under its Level 1 Project Initiative. We're very excited for the support. I cannot go without mentioning, there is a popular word we used lately in football. We call people goats. And someone will say the goats are the greatest of all time. So I cannot live without mentioning the greatest of all time professors that I know. Professor Maggie Chigozi, for the support, the guidance and mentorship. We can never be less of who we are. We only become better. We are students of the world, and we wish to advocate for everyone to join the classroom so we can learn and transform the world forever. Secure digital financial services are just about to change a lot in the world. The digital financial services space now offers much more than sending money from a wallet to wallet. Today, you can do a lot of bill payments any day, anytime, conveniently. You can do cash outs, you can buy airtime, you can do remittances, you can do bulk payments to people that live deep in the villages. Merchant payments are growing very fast. We have InsurTech, we have BankTech coming in. E-commerce is growing. I'm sure we have a number of them participating here. And in the broader sense, we are speaking to three things. We are speaking to payments, we are speaking to beyond payments, and we are speaking to transfers that should be making life easier. As we talk about digital financial services and the popular mobile financial services, it's actually very wrong for us to remember that they are very seamless and thus offer seamless user experience for everyone. They have helped widen the marketplace for many. So many can sell without walking anywhere anymore from their phones. We are being offered instant message integrations that are amazing, and it's all within the same ecosystem. The same technology offers you a simple and wide understanding of customers because it is their phones that they use most popularly to communicate, so they have understanding. And it's been the same generation where we have things like renewable energy sold on installments. So very many people can have energy, can have solar energy. I paid that installments. In Uganda, we have providers that not only provide solar energy, but they provide TV content. And you pay in a year or two. And that's the power of digitization of systems. Many call me Mr. Digital, maybe because of the reason that they have only known me for speaking about technology for the last 15 years. But I'm sure there are many like me, and we can only add to the numbers. Of course, this could never happen without generous support from our partners and sponsors. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation would never happen. We would never have the 7th edition of the Digital and Financial Inclusion Summit, featuring Digital Impact Awards Africa, for many reasons. But even during COVID, we are happy to celebrate our own. And what is happening right now is that through their Level 1 project, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has helped in designing new systems for designing interoperable payment systems for financial inclusion. And we as high people are here to make sure, together with partners and all collaborators, the fintechs, the banks, the NGOs, regulators, governments, to make sure that we play our role in ensuring that we create an economy that includes and benefits everyone. In the end, we will all play a role in helping the United Nations achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Again, I thank everyone, the nominees and everybody, the keynote speakers. Thank you for making time. We're grateful that you came. For everyone watching, I'm excited. We are live on more than 16 Facebook pages, to mention by a few. My good musician friend, Victor Kamenyo, Kasuku Live, Hi People, and many others. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And please don't you forget to cast that vote and vote Innocent Kaweya as the mayor of Kampala. Speaking about voting, I think we're also blessed to have Lord Councillor, LC5 Rubaga. That's Victor Kamenyo also in our presence in the midst as well. So please, people of Kasubi, Kawala, make sure you vote that gentleman. Yes, Nicholas.
Thank you, Wesley. Without wasting time, next on the agenda is a keynote address. The keynote address today is going to be done by Damali Sali. By way of introduction, Damali Sali is a senior chartered accountant. She is a trade development expert. She is a lover of coffee and Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Damali Sali.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am, thank you. I am so happy to be here, and Nicholas and Innocent, thank you so much for the introduction. I will be talking about how Africa can achieve full financial inclusion by leveraging digital technology. But before I get into it, I would like to take a moment to appreciate, to recognize, and to give special thanks to High People and its CEO, Innocent Kaweya, for being persistent and consistent in supporting digital inclusion and financial inclusion year after year, every single year. So I think they need special recognition for that. By extension, I also want to thank the partners of High People who have been mentioned before: Moja Loop Foundation, the Gates Foundation, Modus Box, the Level 1 Project, and the United Nations Capital Development Fund. Next slide, please. In my submission, I'm going to give a synopsis of the state of financial inclusion on the African continent as it stands for now. I'll also explain why financial inclusion is critical to the socioeconomic development of Africa, and I'll give a few recommendations. Over the last decade, Africa has had some of the world's fastest growing economies, with GDP growth rates averaging about 5%. That was until 2019. Recently, in 2020, Bloomberg has issued a report that indicated 7 out of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world are in Africa. That is Uganda, Ethiopia, Ivory Coast, Egypt, Rwanda, Ghana, and Kenya. However, economic growth can only be socially sustainable if that economic growth is inclusive. And one of the main components of inclusive, sustainable economic growth is financial inclusion. Unfortunately, financial inclusion continent is lagging behind other continents. On average, less than 25% of African adults have access to a bank account through a formal financial institution. Over 80% of these adults say that the reason why they don't have a bank account is that the cost of having one is too high, the distance to the formal institution is too far, and the documentary requirements to get one are too stringent. Next slide, please. Similarly, evidence shows that 45% of all businesses in Africa are more likely to lack access to bank credit, regardless of size. Obviously, the financing constraint is much more acute. And this is very, very unfortunate because evidence also shows that micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises are the majority providers of jobs. Over 66% of all jobs in developing economies are through micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. In Africa alone, we have more than 50 million micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, 70% of which are in the informal sector. These businesses contribute over 33% of Africa's gross domestic product, making them critical to the socio-economic development of the whole continent. However, only 29% of formal small and medium-sized enterprises have access to a loan, have access to a line of credit, or have access to an overdraft facilities. The value of this credit gap for formal SMEs in Africa is over $100 billion, out of which 90 billion is to SMEs in sub-Saharan Africa alone. Financial inclusion, the importance of financial inclusion on the African continent cannot be overstated. Whenever a society or a population achieves financial inclusion, it is able to mobilize higher household savings, it is able to increase the number of entrepreneurs in that population, and it enables the people in that population to invest in themselves and invest in their family. Also, quite important, is that it enables the government of that population to have a lower burden in supporting or providing public goods and services to the population. The good news is that the number of women entering the workforce in Africa has been increasing steadily, and so have the number of women-owned businesses. According to the World Bank survey, about 30% of all businesses in Africa are owned by women, although women still face significant financial constraints to participate in the economy. This is despite the fact that the International Monetary Fund has reported that an inclusive economy can increase its gross domestic product by 35%, of which 7% is purely based on productivity. So I have a few recommendations for you, most of which have been made by a lot of the panelists here, but just 3. The first one is on the regulatory framework. Several African countries are still missing regulatory frameworks to guide financial inclusion and digital financial inclusion for that matter. And those that do, the regulations are so stringent around the know your customer requirements that govern digital financial services. So my recommendation is that there is a need to review the regulatory frameworks so that they enhance rather than curtail financial inclusion. Second recommendation is around interoperability. A global payment system survey conducted by the World Bank indicated that only 20% of digital financial solutions available were either partially or fully interoperable. This limits the attractiveness of technology-based solutions to customers and leads to low usage. I therefore recommend that the providers of digital solutions develop solutions that are based on level 1 principles, one of which is interoperability. And it has been discussed extensively by one of the panels. The last recommendation is that government should digitize its services. In any country, the government is the largest provider of goods and services, and therefore the largest provider of financial services. Governments on the continent need to start embracing digital technology in the provision of services to all people, but especially to poor people, to vulnerable people, and to women. So my final recommendation is that the governments need to develop infrastructure backbones that support the digitization of financial services in a manner that is inclusive. With those few words, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Damali Sali, for that keynote speech right there. Without wasting time, ladies and gentlemen, allow me also welcome, as Innocent has said, the greatest of all time, Professor Maggie Chigozie, to come as a guest of honor and give a speech.
Thank you so much, King of Radio. Did you know he was newlywed?
And my wife is here, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Hi, wife. Where are you? Okay. Good to see you. I want to start by, like everyone else, thanking Innocent and the whole team, the chair of the board, Honorable, who I think has not arrived yet, but has always been with us, and all of you for being here today and for continuing to take this so seriously. As you've heard, I've been here for the last 7 years. And do you know where we started? We started with the infrastructure. You know, we were worried about the submarine cable and the underground connections that were happening all over the country. That's how far back we started. And really looking at basically digital by itself and also finance by itself. It was really before we really got to realize that the two work together. That if we're going to have to move successfully, these two have got to go together. So for us as the Uganda Investment Authority, one of the priority sectors was ICT. And we were doing everything possible to make this happen, to make ICT available to everyone. The other priority sector, separate, was the financial sector. And we were trying to ensure that everybody had access. And we were looking at, yes, the individual, the common man. We were also looking at the investors. The investors needed to have access to these two areas, otherwise they could not do business. And yes, we then went on to regional. And now I am hearing Africa-wide. You know, it was East Africa. We were not, going to Nigeria and all that, but now we are. So now it's Africa-wide. Making these two sectors and putting them together and making them work, a critical thing. So all the panelists have showed you how critical this is, that it happens. We looked at regulators, and I think even just last year, we were talking Moja Loop, we were talking Fintech, and we were saying, where's the regulator? Isn't it? Just not so long ago. So the fact that the bill, you are now discussing the National Bank's Payments Act, again is a step forward. So really, thank you, high people. Thank you for keeping the pressure on this sector, on these two, on this now one, I guess, on the eye on this by the government of Uganda. And please allow me just in recognition, it's very, very sad. We lost our NITA retired executive director, Mr. Saka. He was here with us. He's been with us quite a few times. So if you don't mind, can we stand for 1 minute? He played a key role in getting the government, which is the last point that Damali raised, government to use IT and government also to use the payment systems. So let's just recognize him for 1 minute. Thank you very much. I think the important issues have been discussed. We need to attract more investors, and we can only do that if both these areas are working very well. And has helped the banks in particular to improve customer care, but not just the banks. URA, education, everybody, because we no longer need to come near you. Sometimes you were mean, sometimes you were corrupt, and you know, with these systems, the payment systems that we now have, you don't need to go anywhere, do you? You sit in your bed and you're able to pay everyone, and it's all very, very efficient. So we have made a lot of progress. As someone who's been watching it for 8 years, I am so excited. What would we have done with COVID, with the system we had 7 years ago? The economy would have collapsed straight away. But it hasn't. We've been able to keep on moving. We are meeting, I think half the people with us today are out there. They're on NTV, they are online, and they're able to be a part of us because we worked, high people worked. I don't know why I say we. I only come in for this event once a year, but anyway. I am happy to have been able to support it and to see how far we have got. So it's exciting. Financial inclusion is happening. Yes, still have a few problems here and there, and you've been talking about them, which means they'll be addressed. Advocacy is always critical. As a farmer, I no longer have to be, what was it called, a telephone farmer? No, everybody on my farm has a mobile phone. Everybody's linked to me. I can farm seriously online. And that is wonderful. Same for businesses all over the country. Education, URA, they no longer need to look for us. They can get their taxes without coming near us. So things like Mocash, MomoPay, all the people who are being awarded here today, thank you very much for picking on these opportunities, making them businesses. And here I want to recognize the young generation. The young generation see these opportunities before people like me see them. And you've jumped onto them and you've made them succeed, giving us services and possibilities that we never thought we would have. So I will stop there, but maybe remind you to vote for Innocent Kawoya for mayor. Let us seriously go digital as Kampala City, and we can do that by supporting Innocent Kawoya. So hi people, all your supporters, UNCDF and the others, thank you so much, and please keep it up, and I look forward to being here next year to see how far we've got, because every year I'm pleasantly surprised. Amen. Thank you very much.
Professor, thank you very much, but please, I'd request you stay behind a little bit. We're going into the session of awarding, and also I'd request Madame Damali Sali to also come through and join us here, and also Nicholas, please come forward. and of course, Alo the Mayor.
Right. Yes, thank you, Wesley. We are coming to the end of our program today. We thank everyone that came today. But like you may know, the Include Everyone program has been running for the full year. We have had a couple of digital and financial inclusion activities. We started with the 40 Days, 40 Fintechs activity that happened in May, June, and July. Altogether, we had over 100 fintechs from all over the world registering, and 41 took part. We had expected 40, but we did 41. That was 40 Days, 40 Fintechs. That was followed by the Fintechs Landscape Exhibition, which was the culmination of the 40 Days, 40 Fintechs. The Fintechs Landscape Exhibition had the 41 Fintechs exhibiting and discussing what they have. Then in August, September, we had the Women in Fintech Hackathon. The hackathon was for women-dominated groups and women-led teams. Altogether, we had over 15 women-led and women-dominated groups coming together to design and develop solutions for financial and digital inclusion. It was a 5-day, 1-week activity that we hosted at Hive Collabo. It culminated in the Women in Fintech Summit. That was on the 18th, if I remember very well, of September at Sheraton Hotel. This month we have had, for the past 2 months, we have been preparing for the Digital Impact Awards Africa, and they include F1 Summit, which is the culmination of our work this year. We expect to be back next year, bigger and better. To start with, without wasting a lot of time because we are running short, we want to give out the certificates to the different entities that took part in the 40 Days, 40 Fintechs project. What's going to happen is this is an appreciation for the work they have done in the year, but also an appreciation for them honoring the activity and coming through to showcase what they are doing. Together they are 40, but we are only reading out those that have attended today. Many haven't come with apologies, and others have said they will pick their certificates. We shall, I'm going to request the representatives, one representative to come in front here. I read the certificate, you receive it, and another one comes. Jumia, Uganda. Jumia should be followed by Sente. The 40 Days for the Fintech certificate should be handed over by Ms. Damari Sali. Yes, Sente. Center should be followed by Safe Border. Safe Border should be followed by Enabling Finance Limited. Center, Safe Border, Enabling Finance. Yes, this is for the photo moment, after which whoever is picking their certificate, we are giving a framed version. Enabling Finance, Yugimat, one representative from Yugimat, Chap Chap, Chap Chap Uganda, True African. All these are participants of the 40 Days, 40 Fintechs project. True African, Your TV channels, Computing Palace, should be on standby. Alptech ICT Solutions, thank you for being part of the 40 Days for the Fintechs initiative. Marlin Group, Marlin Group should be followed in a special way, should be followed by Pegasus Technologies Limited. Pegasus has been here for over 2 decades. They started with National Water Umeme Solutions before going into other payment solutions. They have done us great, Pegasus Technologies. Yes, Council Code. Like I've said, we are going to give you the flamed versions of these certificates still. For those that were already flamed, Yo Uganda Limited. Again, Yo Uganda Limited has been here for over 2 decades. They started the idea of mobile money when people didn't know that mobile money would happen. The big companies didn't believe in them. Yo Uganda, True Africa, and Pegasus. We were talking mobile money over 20 years ago, but people didn't know what we were saying. Today we all know what mobile money can do. Lend in a box. Yes, I saw Mr. Oscar. Lend in a box. The person from Lend in a box must be out. Hamwe, East Africa. Hamwe, East Africa. Hamwe should be followed by file attacks. File attacks. File attacks, we are waiting for you. Mr. Malcolm, you can pick it on behalf of your colleagues from File Attacks. TradeLens Uganda, thank you for being part. Flutterwave. Flutterwave Uganda and Flutterwave Group, because both Flutterwave Uganda and Flutterwave Group took part in the 40 Days for the Fintechs project. Actually, that one was for Flutterwave Group, and this one is for Flutterwave Uganda. Lastly, Mindset Coders. Yes, thank you very much. Those are the participants in the 40 Days for the Fintechs. Without wasting a lot of time, I'm going to hand over to Wesley and Innocent, my CEO. What is happening next is the rewarding of the Digital Impact Awards Africa winners. Because of time, we can't play videos of nominees, but the good thing about this is all nominees know, they have been taking part, they have been voting. We can only announce the winners for selected categories, again because of a time factor. But a full list of all winners is going to be uploaded on the internet immediately, and because we are empowering and pushing for digital and financial inclusion, we know very well that all of you will find the details on the internet. Thank you very much.
Winners, so that the awards come in a little bit fast. Thank you to everyone that was nominated and participated in submitting and voting as well. Digital Impact Awards Africa is here to change everything digital transformation. So let's start. The first winner of the awards tonight is for Super App Innovation Africa. That's Silver, Safe Border. And the best digital response to COVID impact for Africa as well. The Silver Award also goes to Safe Border. Merchant Payments Innovation Excellence for Uganda, Chap Chap. Lending and Circle Innovation Excellence for Uganda, Social Lend Africa. Super App Innovation for Africa goes to Ayoba. Your TV. Best e-commerce innovation excellence, Jumia for Uganda. Agri-tech innovation excellence for Uganda, Hamwe. Best digital response to COVID, the Diamond Award goes to MTN Group. Wear it for me. Best FinTech merchant payments for Africa, Flutterwave. And we have a new award that is celebrating regulators that are doing as much as they can to make sure our industry, especially the FinTech industry, has policies that favor innovation. And that award is for the Regulatory Financial Inclusion Rails Award. It's an African award. The first ever recipient is the Bank of Tanzania. They deployed a Tanzania instant payment switch that is called TIPS, which I'll deliver this to Tanzania. The FinTech Investment and Inspiration Sprinter for Africa award goes to Paystack. I'll deliver this to Nigeria, some reason. Yeah, well. The FinTech Aggregator Excellence, Platinum, goes to Bionic. Sorry, the order will be a bit disturbing. The Best Financial Inclusion Impact goes to MTN Momo. FinTech Aggregator Excellence, we have 5 awards, Diamond, Platinum, and Gold for the FinTech Aggregator category. So FinTech Aggregator Excellence, Gold, you're Uganda. Digital Customer Experience Excellence, Utilities and Government Services, National Water and Sewage Corporation. Best Card Payment Excellence, Stanbic Bank. Digital Banking Excellence, Standard Chartered Bank. Speed. National order? FinTech Aggregator Excellence, Platinum, Craft Silicon. I'll deliver this to Nairobi. Standard Chartered. Brand and Social Media Excellence, Consumer Goods, Movid Products Limited. Digital Powered Campaign Excellence, Stanbic National Schools Championship. Best Brand on Social Media, Financial Services, Telecom, IT, Stanbic Bank. Community Banking Excellence, Centenary Bank. Community Banking Excellence, Centenary Bank. And the last 2 awards. Oh, not the last. Women Financial Inclusion Award, Pride Microfinance. Fintech Aggregator Excellence, Gold, True African, Centenary Bank, and the Diamond for Fintech Aggregator Excellence that goes to Pegasus Technologies. Very excited to celebrate for the first time women in fintech leadership, and we have a Women in Fintech Leadership Award that goes to a personality, and we are glad to celebrate our own Doreen Lukanda from Bionic, who received the first ever Women in Fintech Award. And lastly, for everyone that was watching, we are very glad and congratulations to everybody that was nominated, to everyone that has received a prestigious certificate from the most authentic brand in awarding digital excellence in the continent. We're very delighted to work with you in a journey to ensure that the world achieves full digital transformation one time. The Digital Brand of the Year Award 2020 goes to Standard Chartered Bank. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Professor Maggie, the greatest of all time. Professors. Congratulations, Standard Chartered Bank. Congratulations to all the winners. Thank you, Damali. May we please take our seats back in the audience. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming.
All right. Thank you so much for all that took part. And congratulations to Standard Chartered Bank for being Digital Brand of the Year. 2019 Digital Brand of the Year was Stanbic Bank. 2018 Digital Brand of the Year was Centenary Bank. 2016 Digital Brand of the Year was MTN Uganda. So you are competing against each other. You're all doing very well. And we are happy that every year, each one of you is trying to outcompete the other in a good way, in a way that develops Uganda. Yes, it has been a good day. I've had Arnold Segawa doing 2 panels. King of Radio, King Wesley is the official host of High People events. Whether invited or not, whether sick or not, he's always available. He had to cut short his honeymoon to be here for this event. He just got married recently, and I believe he moves with his ring wherever he goes because he's a married man. We had Rita Kawanyoro doing great work. As we conclude, we have one unique panel discussion we are going to do. It's going to be moderated by Rita Kabanyolo, mainly in Luganda, because we believe that digital and financial inclusion will best be achieved if the least people are included. We have an informal sector panel discussion for women doing informal business. Abakyala abakola emirimu emitonotono, abakola mu butale, abakola mu maduuka, abakola ku myalo, etc. among others, abo bonna bali mu category ya informal women in business. Waliwo abali mu byobulimi ng'ebitongole nga hamwe Uganda bibayamba ofuna business. Waliwo abatunda ebintu ebitonotono ng'ebitongole nga Sente nga Pegasus bibayamba okusasulwa. So lugenda kubaawo n'olukiiko olutonotono, simanyi wapano mu Luganda kitegeeza lukiiko, era kubaawo ne debate ey'abakyala ab'enjawulo abali mu informal sector batunnyonnyole engeri mobile money gyebayamba, engeri ebintu ebirala gyebayamba. Omukolo guno gubadde live NTV. Omukolo guno gwateekeddwa High People na bapatena baayo omuli UNCDF, omuli Fintech zonna, omuli bank zonna, omuli telecom zonna, omuli level 1 project, omuli Modus Box, ne Modular Foundation. Pano y'abakyala egenda kubeera moderated by Rita Kabanyolo, ali ku mukono gwange ogwa ddyo, ono annanye ye Wesley. Asobola okubawa ebigambo ebisembayo, then akwase Rita Kabanyolo omukisa moderating panel eyo.
Well, immediately after this panel discussion, we'll be having our lunch, so please stay around. There's a big feast for you organized by High People, and thank you. Rita, please.
Thank you. I recognize Wesley before you go as the couple of the year. Congratulations. You can take that award.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and congratulations again. Yes, this is our last panel, and I can say we will be cut short on NTV. We will not, however, there are other platforms that are streaming us live. That we have Kasuku, we have got Innocent Kawe streaming, among others. And also now we're going to have, like Nicholas explained, abachala abakola emirimu egitali gimu n'egimu in the informal sector, because we know over 700 million people globally are in the informal sector, and just in Uganda 75% of women are doing business in the informal sector. Mbaniriza nnyo, nsaba mujje tutuule tulabe nga tuyamba omuntu ali eyo atuwuliriza era atulaba, era n'abali wano bonna okulaba nga twekanyako ku bintu ebitali bimu na bimu, omuli mobile money n'omuli ebirala ebyokwasaganya teknologiya. Mbaniriza nnyo, kakati tugenda kukola bwe tuti, buli omu agenda kubanga owaayo amannya go, kiki ky'okola abantu okumanyako bulungi. Katutandikire wano ku mukono gwange ogwa ddyo.
Erinnya Nannono Aisha, nga nkolera mu katale k'e Bugolobi era nga nze n'abakyala wa kitundu ekyo.
Weebale nnyo n'abakyala e Bugolobi. Addako?
Mannya nze Naluwaga Sarah, nkolera mu Kalere Kajubi Market.
Addako?
Erinnya Nakakeeto Samali, nga nkolera mu katale ekitintale era nga nze n'abakyala wange.
Weebale nnyo, katukole mu bwangu bwangu.
Nabukeera Farida, nkolera mu katale k'Empererwe era nga ndi treasurer waako.
Weebale nnyo Nabukeera. Addako? Tubaaniriza okubanga mutuusizza
First phase we twasooka okudduka mu katale nga batugambye nti enkya temudda, abantu baspreading all over the roadside.
Awo ddala sobola okuddamu kakalabya emirimu gyaffe nga bwe twali naye tukoseddwa nnyo olwa covid.
Addako naddako mutunyonyole tuyite mu bwangu bwangu.
Banga twafuna omukisa ogusigala mu katale nga tukola ki? Nga tutunda bakasitoma basooka okuleeta ssente zonna ze balina bambi ne bashoppinga ebintu ne babitwala wa ewaka ate ne baggwamu olw'okuba basigala tebakola ki? Tebakola. Kati we bigenze maaso nga ebbanga lyeyongerayo abantu olw'okuba babadde tebalina ssente bizinesi zaffe zaagwa. Fe abantu ebintu bibaleeta ku maketi biba tebikyayina ki? Tebikyayina value y'amaanyi nga we twabifunangamu emabega. So twesanze ng'essaawa eno tuli mu mbeera ey'obwavu bw'amaanyi. N'ebintu bye tukola tebikyalimu ssente. Abantu bangi abaali bakola emirimu emirala bajja ne bagwa mu bintu ebyakatale olw'okuba gwe gwali gusigaddewo ng'omulimu ne twesanga nga ffe abaakirimu ng'omulimu edda tetukyalina kyamaanyi kye tukyafunamu.
Kale
amazima gali nti covid
osobola okweyongerako kazindaala akiiki.
Twasigala mu katale nga tukola amazima gali nti Wanda gye yatusinga kulisa restaurant ne Makerere kasita bagiggala na restaurant zitabeerawo. Wanda gye yatwakosebwa nnyo era baali baleeta ebintu nga tubiteeka mu butale bivunda ng'ababigula batono ate n'abaza okugula enkya bw'aleeta kaasi oluddako ajja nga yina ebbanja togenda bimuma tomanyi kasitomaawo era naye obimuwa enkya oyo tagenda kukola ki? Tagenda kudda. Kaakati ffe mu butale abo mu twasigala mutukola naye tulina amabanja mangi olw'okuwa ebintu bye ne bivunda asigala abanja ate ekisigaddewo ekiramu kasitoma bw'ajja n'akitwala nakyo takola ki? Takisasula. Kati bamaama ffe mu butale olw'okuba twasigala mu nti tukola naye tuli mu zirooni era zitubanjiza ddala era nze Centenary Bank ennaku ezo yalumbyeko n'ewange n'abakyala beebanja naye ng'amazima gali ssente zaafa akasigalawo ng'akalamu kasitoma
tugenda tuukayeeya akiiki webale nnyo. Kaakati guno omulembe gwe tuliko ogwa tekinologiya gulina engeri gwe gibayambyemu nga mmwe abakyala abali mu bizinesi kuba kati tulinako amasimu osobola okuweereza ebintu ku self-border gulina kye kubayambyemu kantandikire ono mu ddakiika etasukka emu otunnyonnyole engeri ki omulembe gwa tekinologiya gw'ogusanze.
Kati ffe abamu ab'omu katale kati nga nze ayogerera ab'ebugoloobi tetunnaba kutuukayo eyo olw'embeera kati gye tulimu. Kizibu nnyo omuntu okujja kuguleko ebintu eby'$2,000 ate osobole okubeera nga obiteeka ku mobile. Ssente ezo giba teziyamba. Ate n'ekirala tuyinamu abakyala abasuubuzi okugeza ng'ogenda erufula kati owerufula tojja ebyo bimunyumiza kyate kankuteere ssente ku mobile. Kale n'olwekyo ffe ab'ebugoloobi tukyalimu okusoomozebwa ekyo tekinnaba kubeerawo ng'ab'omukati.
Katuddeko omulala ng'otunnyonnyola embeera bw'ogisanze neya tekinologiya mu bizinesi bw'okolera.
Embeera ya tekinologi tennaba
mpozi kitundu ki?
Kaleere okuggyako nti nga nze personal nsobola naye katale konna tennaba.
Mu katale olaba wakyabulamu. Kale tunnyonnyole ku kitundu kyeyabeeyo.
Mu katale k'ekitintale tennaba tekinologiya tennaba kuyingiramu bulungi oba tetunnafuna nsomesebwa yaayo bulungi kyovola tetunnagitegeera na kugitambuliramu. Endowooza bwe nandisuubidde twetaaga ensomesa yaayo mu katale n'entegeera yaayo kubanga tetunnaba kutegeera ntegeera yaayo bulungi okugitambuliramu.
Era abalungamya aba tekinologiya zino ezitali zimu n'ezimu webali wano byonna babiwulira kyemmanyi bagenda osobola kulaba nti babatuukirira eyo gye mubeera. Katugendeko ku Hajjat tuwulire.
Nze sijja gamba nti tennatuuka mu katale kaffe kubanga abantu abasinga bakozesa buno obusimu kaabe mukadde kaabe muto bakozesa buno obusimu okwasaganya ne bakasitoma baabwe naddala mu biseera ebibadde bya covid nga transport takirizibwa biki okozesa essimu n'okwasaganya ne kasitoma wo n'omukubira n'osobola omuweereza n'akuweereza kasimu nga kano then ku zino baana abakyala abali mu katale abasinga bakadde bakulu zino essimu tebazimanyi kati weesanga nga walikozeseza at least media okusindika bizinesi yo gisindikire bakasitoma abo balabe byoyina basobole okuodalinga naye nga abantu abasinga abakulu mu butale abaana abato bakozesa bino ebintu tebannatukanya okukola ki kubeera nga zibagasa kuba tebabimanyi
kale webale nnyo katusembyeyo Akiki
market twebaza bwebaza mukama nti ffe ogw'omulembe gw'essimu weeguli era mu covid bwetubadde tutera nnyo okukolera nga bwetuweereza ebintu bye baagala ebintu bye baagala naffe netubaweereza ne batuweereza ne ssente ate ne safe border ekitongole ekyo twakwatagana nakyo nkijja mu katale kaffe Wandegeya abaali beesobola basalawo okukolagana nabo naye batya safe border bwejja kasitoma bwakubanga ayagala ekintu akusaba buli kimu kyonna kati ate abamu baba tubakoze eki tibabirina oba nnyama oba nkoko olina obigula byonna n'okola ki n'obimuwa era okukakana mu Wandegeya twasigalamu abasuubuzi nga 3-4 baali basobola okugulira bakasitoma ebintu ne tubibawa naye safe border yatuyisa bubi era nze kuomu Grace Akiki Wandegeya market safe border yalemera ssente zange bwe bajja tibatuwa cash sente bazisindika mu kitongole kaakati mweno babawa buwi ne bakugamba kati ebintu byowaddeyo ku Mande n'olwokubiri ssente ojja kuzifuna Lwakusatu naye maama n'obanja n'okoowa era kati bwe kituuse Wandegeya safe border twabagobayo tubakyali
aba safe border you're getting that note. That's why we're engaging the informal sector here to share with us their challenges on the use of our services respectively. So safe border, I hope you will check on that. As we continue nga tukyengerayo tunaatera omaliriza tulina eddakiika ezitasooka munnya okumaliriza kakati ku nkola eno ezipya eziyingirawo digito omanyi korona ono kati atambula nnyo ne ssente zino si kirungi okuzitambuza ennyo mu buliwo that's why baziteeka ku mikutu ne zigenda obaawo ng'ozigirayo mu banka ku ssimu yo ku mobile money n'awalala wonna ewali emitongole ebirala nkola ki gye mwandyagadde nga mmwe abantu abakwasaganya emirimu egitali gimu n'egimu nga mu representing abalala abali eyo okulaba nti enkola zino zikwatagana n'ebimukola ate nga n'okuleeta kasitoma ate nga kasitoma bw'aba azze okugula kulungi kogamba process etambule nga bwe mwandyayagadde okutambula biki bye mwandyagadde okwongera mu nkola za tekinologiya ezitali zimu n'ezimu wane
okujjako nze okusaba kwange kwe kujja tusomesa
kusomesebwa
singa banajja ne batusomesa engeri gye tuyinza tukyagala era kirungi naye tukikoze tutya kubanga tetunaba kitegeera naye singa kubanga ffe abakatale emisomo gino giyina ate gye gituyamba ebiseera bingi engeri y'abakyala okwekuŋŋaanya okukola kikwegamba banguyira emisomo ate ne baba nga bagiwuliriza bulungi n'olwekyo nze nsaba nti bajje batusomese tujja kukitambuza ekintu nga bwe kiri
weebale nnyo ate maama gwe osaba kiki ky'oluubirirwa mu nkola zino okwongerwamu osobola osemberako katono kazi
nandibadde njagala nnyo online marketing bagiyigize kati nga ffe ku Kaleere tufomingawo groups kati we tufuna omukisa ogwo ne bajja ne batusomesa nabano ffe be tuyitanga abakulu basobola at least asobola okugamba Sarah nyambaako kati bwe baba nga batuyigiririza wamu kuba gwe bw'ovaayo n'ogamba nti omuyigirize obeera wa lugezigezi naye omukulu gwe kikwatako bw'abanga azze n'atukolamu omulimu as a group nange mbadde nsaba kyeyongere mu butale
kale weebale nnyo maama tubuulire ensonga eyo gyogerako ki
ensonga eyo okusomesebwa ekisinga obukulu kye tusaba kutusomesa nkola eyo tugitambuliremu tulabika ejja kutuyamba naye tetusomeseddwa ffe ng'ab'obutale bandize ne batusomesa ne tutegeera enkola eyo tugitambuza tutya
Kale webale.
Kyetusaba.
Okujjako okusomesebwa Hajat ne Akiki, mulinayo enkola endala yonna? Waliwo ayinayo enkola endala yonna okujjako okusomesebwa? Osobola osemberako maama?
Nze kyendowooza nti era okusomesebwa kwe kwalibadde okusinga kubanga ne bw'onooleeta nkola ki yonna onoogiyisa mu mbeera ki ogibategeeza nga tebasomye balina era okumala okusomesebwa ne bayiga ki kye balina okukola ki okukola okwanguyizibwa.
Nange ekyo ekyokusomesebwa nansonga n'obona ngamba nti oyita abantu nti mukole kino nga tebakitegedde tebajja kikola naye bw'obasomesa bajja kuwulira essanyu bagende mu maaso n'omulembe ogunaa.
Mwebale nga tubumbabumba nga tumaliriza, waliwo omulimu gwonna gwe mwekozeemu nga mmwe mu bibiina byammwe eyo mu katale okulaba nti mufunayo akasente oba savings okubayambako okutambuza emirimu nga tuva mu korona ono oba tutambula ewali ne korona? Waliwo ogambye maama, tubuulireko engeri gye mukozeemu.
Tukoze twesevingira twakola mu groups tuli abantu 33 twesevingira sente ezo ate ne tumala ne tuzeewola ne tuziza mu bizinensi omuntu yenna waaba alemereddwa tumukwatirako enyabu.
That means you see how they are including everyone. So they have a circle of 30 groups in which they combine funds and among themselves they share after. So they are including themselves financially. That's a good one. Nga tubumbabumba waliwo omulala kye mukozeewo? Yes, Aki.
Nyabo ffe kyetukozeeko nga Wandege ya market group naffe tutuulabulirwa Mande tukunganya sente ezo abasuubuzi tuli bantu nga 10. Sente ezo ntuziwa omusuubuzi omu n'azikozesa n'aziteekamu obugoba butini n'azikomyawo omwezi ne tuziwa omulala n'azikomyawo omwezi ne tuziwa omulala tutukyateeka mu bubokisi kati ezaffe zitambula nga zisuubula.
Mwebale nnyo mwebalire ddala. Waliwo tuweeyo ensonga yo?
Ffenaffe Kaleere tukoze tulina sako erimu groups 3 naye ffe kye tukola tugidividinga into 3 omu group emu nekola liquid soap endala nekola tomato sauce kuba tuli batunzi babirima abasinga abalala ne tukola bar soap kati ne tubanga sente ezo bwe tuba tuzikozesa tuzikomyawo ne tuzeewola ate ne tutereka tugabana mwaka era ndowooza next week.
Abakaleere muli bulungi awo. Kakati, just to tell you what they have been doing or what they are anticipating in their different markets, Kiki in the last corner, what they do, they give money, they save money and give it to a certain trader or vendor. So the trader has to make sure there comes profit on that money. So when they're borrowing or getting money among themselves, they share the profits among themselves as well, the ones that have been delivered by the trader or the vendor respectively. And she's saying they're having groups whereby they're making liquid soap.
Yeah.
Yes, liquid soap, and then they get money out of that as well as savings that help them improve themselves as women, only those who are in that particular circle or particular group. Thank you so much. Mwebale nnyo okulaba nga nammwe eyo gye mubeera muli mu ku community oba mwe mubeera mukumisa omutindo waggulu okulaba nga abantu abamu n'abamu mbakwatirako bye mukola. Ne wano high people kyekolera ddala ate ensanyufu nnyo okulaba nammwe mweyunzeeko ku lunaku luno nga tutendera ddala omutindo ewatali kusigala muntu n'omu emabega. Mwebale nnyo. Once again, I appreciate everyone here, and they are from, one of them is from Bugolobi Market, Wandegea Market, the last one, she's from Kaleere, and Mperere, and Chitintale Market. Naye abamoviti basimye nnyo emirimu gyammwe, n'olwekyo babawaddeyo ebirabo biri awo ali mu charge okubawa ebirabo bino. Mwebale nnyo moviti. Nsaba ajeko abibawe then tumalirize. Thank you so much. Kati Bugolobi Market. Bugolobi Market, mwebale nnyo emirimu gye mukwasaganya eyo, mweyongere ddala mu maaso. Ate kansuubire bekikwatako wano nga you're here and you have heard they need sensitization about these solutions that we are trying to bring. Tulina Kalere Market, tweyanzizza okutwegattako olunaku olwaleero. Mperere asembayo owa Kitintale. Mperere Market, tweyanzizza nnyo, tweyanzeege. Kitintale Market, obonno obutale, you cannot spend a day without eating or getting something from the market, so they are very important people in our community. Yes, Wesley?
Check it.